UCF, another team, first year in the Big 12. Um, Candidly, probably the team coming to the Big 12 that I'm most confident in this year, and it's not really that close, actually. Um, Look, you return a lot. You get a lot of guys back, I think, on this team. There's a lot of guys back. The over win total is at 6.5. Of course, you get Boise State in the out of conference game.
At Boise
Uh,
State. It's got to go to
yeah,
Boise, the blue turf.
yeah. So that's not it's not an easy game by any means. Especially they could be pretty good this year. We know how we feel about our guy Taylor Green over there, but uh, this feels like a really manageable schedule to me. The over win total is at 6.5. How are you feeling?
UCF is to be honest, is the hardest team I have um to do this. I want to take the over so badly. I'm not gonna because I feel like I'm taking the over on too many Big 12 teams at this point. So I'm just gonna just stay off it. I would lean the over for sure, but I guess because I like John Rice Plumlee. I like Gus Malzahn's offense. I think they did a good job in the transfer portal, specifically in the offensive line. Right, Amari Kite comes over from Alabama, is probably going to be the right tackle. Marcellus Marshall from Kent State has looked apart as a guy who had a ton of Power Five offers, like he did. And then you got some uh, Xavier Townsend there that's still there. Kobe Hudson, Javon Baker's been there for a couple years now. It seems like he's ready to be the guy, at UCF. I think this offense is super interesting. The defense, I got a little bit more question marks about, but I think there's some fun pieces there. Like the clay is all there to have a really successful season, kind of like how Texas A&M and Missouri came in the SEC and kind of lit fire right away. I think UCS is one of those teams that can do that for sure. But I'm not going to bet on it yet, so we'll see what they have to do this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what drew me away from the over. I lean over, just for the record, and I do think UCF will be very, very successful in the Big 12 in years to come. They'll be very, very successful.
Yep.
I have 100% confidence in that. Uh, and I think John Rice Plumlee is a very good player. If anyone's a college baseball fan out there, also, and if ever got a chance to see him play baseball, it is awesome. He's a very, very good athlete. You could see it out there, and also, of course, you can see it on the football field. It's ironic though, he's a baseball player, and maybe he doesn't throw the ball
Well,
as well as some other
because he's not a
quarterbacks.
pitcher; he's an outfielder, right? Where
Yeah, he's an
most of your
outfielder.
your quarterbacks are pitchers.
Yeah, there's highlights of him, gunning guys down. I love it, but it's more about like the play style and Mikey Keene transferring out of there as his backup. Right, he transfers out of there. He goes to Fresno State, which we love the staff over there, but uh, and I think he'll be really good over there. And he was a really, really good backup quarterback. And the problem is I don't know if they have anything behind right John Rice Plumlee and his play style. Right, John Rice Plumlee, like he's very susceptible to getting hurt. Right, just with that play style. I know he's a really good athlete, and like sometimes like certain athletes like they fall certain ways or like they just move in certain ways or their body's just built where they can just take hits and they just very robust, right? And that is John Rice Plumlee, but uh I just think there's too much banking on John Rice Plumlee. Like if he gets hurt, like they can't win 7 games if he gets hurt. They I don't think they can do it, which is the biggest reason, right? And you talked about the defense having like some question marks as well. The wide receiver room, I don't think really matters against John Rice Plumlee. So like, it's not like if he had elite receivers, it's not like I don't know that he would be able to really take advantage of it. Anyways, sure, Ryan O'Keefe goes to Boston College, but uh, it's fine. I mean, Marcellus Marshall on the offensive line, they actually got some good transfers on the offensive line, which is pretty rare. I'm high on Marcellus Marshall, the all conference guy, G5 all conference. Like anytime you get an all conference guy, you're high on them, right? Especially like the offensive line, because a lot of that is like we talk about like linebackers, right? If you're picking an all conference linebacker, sometimes you can just stat shop. Not talking about any Georgia Tech linebackers at this point in time, but like or Amari Knight, from Alabama, or Kite. Sorry, totally mispronounced that. Sorry about that, guys. But and RJ Harvey at running back he's fine. consider drafting him pretty late in my fantasy drafts that I had these past couple of weeks, but I'm I'm okay with this team. This team is a very good team. I like Kent State and Villanova getting them out of conference. I like the Kent State tune-up game for Boise State. Yeah, and then I think the Big 12 schedule is pretty manageable, right? When you draw, you don't draw BYU, but that's fine. I mean, they're probably the second best team that's new to the conference. But you get Cincinnati, you got to go to Cincinnati though. You get Houston, you get West Virginia. See, you got a pretty decent draw, right? You get Kansas, who could be a win, could be a loss. So I just couldn't get myself to really bet on all of that. Beat writers, lovely Hunter, who you guys follow recruiting. He was a big D tackle. I believe he was at Auburn. Not super high motor guy, but apparently he's just cut some weight. It's looking good. He's got some upside up there. So if he gets that done, that defense could be pretty decent. DBs are fine. Brandon Adams is good. Did you talk about Decorian Patterson?
No, that's all you.
Yeah, so Middle Tennessee State, and you guys have probably never heard of him. But you go right in the stats, and you just filter by interceptions, right? You'll see his name at the top of the list. That's right. He had the most interceptions in college football last year. So clearly, an eye for the ball, right? I didn't get a chance to watch him actually too much, but all I know is that he goes and gets the ball, which leads me to believe that he could be a pretty decent corner for them. I don't think they would have gotten him if they didn't really believe that. So, but yeah, the main reason that I can't take it is because there's just nothing behind John Rice Plumlee, and his play style it makes me too nervous that he's going to get hurt, and they're not going to be able to win 7 games without him.
No, and they're also so the interesting part about UCF is Gus Malzahn's typically, has called plays a lot, but he hired Darren Hinshaw, right, from UAB to be the offensive coordinator. He's going to call plays. UAB ran the ball a lot. I mean, they had Dwayne McBride, yes. So, of course, you're going to run the ball. They ran the ball a ton. They averaged 235 yards a game, 5.8 yards per carry. I mean, Darren Hinshaw's a good play caller, really good offensive running schemes. But, again, that's going to be more impact for John Rice Plumlee because he's going to be involved in that running game as well. Him, RJ Harvey, and then DeMarcus Bowman as well, change of pace back, the high-rated recruit from Florida and Clemson. He's kind of been everywhere in the Southeast now. Finally at UCF now. Seems to be playing well in camp. So, yeah, I think that's super interesting. I think Darren Hinshaw got to look out for. I like when your head coaches don't necessarily call plays. That scares me sometimes. We saw Jimbo Fisher give it up. Steve Sarkisian is like the only one, and maybe Lane Kiffin. Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin are the ones I kind of want calling plays because not many people are going to be better than him, and they can still manage the game or hire people to do it for him, just like Steve Sarkisian did with Paul Chryst at Texas. But yeah, usually that leads to more wins, I think, with Gus Malzahn giving up play calling. Defensively, it's interesting, especially that secondary. You talked about a couple of those players, Decorian Patterson, Brandon Adams. Nikhil Marshall was starting nickel last year. He's moving to safety to bring in room for Braden Marshall, who's a true freshman guy they're really, really high on. He's going to start at safety. He's true freshman All-American. I'm sure you've seen those the teams that they've got, like ESPN or 24/7, whoever else has done them. He's a guy everyone's really high on, including that staff there. John Walker was a big-time recruiting win. He's going to give him nice depth this year behind, Lee Hunter, which I know you talked about earlier. Both those guys are really, really talented. We'll see how it does. I don't think they have a ton of depth, like you said, not only at the quarterback position, but kind of everywhere else. I don't know if I love them, to survive a whole conference schedule in the Power 5.
Yeah.
But the future of UCF is bright. Don't get me wrong. Very, very bright. You've seen it recruiting, right? You've seen it. Like they got the potential to really, really, be on the upper echelon of the new Big 12 coming in and be able to run, compete in the state of Florida for a lot of these good, talented players, which Gus Malzahn seems to be doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, and I will go back to your Henshaw argument as well. Like, it could be also used against me as well. Like, if they're running the ball a lot and running effectively, right, then, there is a chance that, the offense doesn't take a huge hit if John Rice Plumlee isn't in the game as well. So it still just makes me too nervous, right, to take the over. But I could definitely see people making that argument. And I'm not going to stop you from doing that. I applaud people who have the gonads to take overs. I do.